Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we are doing another part of my Halloween special. Actually, we're going to be talking about a movie that just had its 25th anniversary last year. So I'm a year behind on that one, but still great time to talk about it because this is a great slasher flick if you are into slashers. But today we are talking about the 1998 movie Urban Legends. This is going to be a relatively short review because this movie is a very basic slasher, but I feel like it's also severely underrated, and that's actually what I wanted to go into. But simple outline of this movie, it's about these college kids who are stalked on campus by this killer who has a niche for killing people through urban legends that we hear, as we're growing, like what to do, what not to do. And honestly, I found that very unique because the urban legend that, you need to check the back seat of your car before you get into it because the one time you don't, someone is in there, that used to get to me all the time when I started driving. I guess the newest urban legend that you see in this movie is the fact that gas was so cheap back then. I mean, $1.14 for gas. When I started driving, it was $2.50. Those were the good old days. The big star that's recognizable in this film is Jared Leto. This is like him in his younger years. Like, he is very young in this movie. But, I mean, he is a method actor, of course, and he plays a journalist. And so that makes me wonder, when he was not on camera, was he, asking questions to, a bunch of, people who worked on the crew, kind of like a journalist, to get him into character. The other star that, that is kind of recognizable is Joshua Jackson. And for some reason, they made him look like one of the members of the Backstreet Boys because, platinum blonde hair was the thing back then. Robert Englund is also in this movie too as well. I mean, he doesn't really play a big role. He's a supporting character. He plays a university professor who, I'm guessing, teaches American folklore to his students. So I really wish he kind of had like a bigger role here since this movie is about people dying by urban legends, but he didn't really play that big of a role. I mean, he had one scene where he was giving a lecture, but that was pretty much it. And here's what I actually wanted to talk about. And it's actually the fact that, like I said, this movie is severely underrated, yet it's good. And the reason for that is because it has long been known as a ripoff of Scream. That was actually the, the result of a lot of slasher films that came out in the late 90s and early 2000s, saying that they were ripoffs of Scream somehow. I mean, Scream came out in 1996. Urban Legends came out in 1998. So, I mean, yes, there's a little bit of a time gap there, but it's like after a movie like Scream becomes a humongous success, the next movies that come out over the next 3 to 5 years, people try to find ways to tie them together, saying like, oh, this film just stole something from this film. And I find that very unfair because we live in a generation right now where every film pulls from something else. And that does not technically mean that the movie is essentially a ripoff. I mean, yes, it borrowed ideas from somebody else, but even Scream is not purely original. I mean, Wes Craven made a great movie with Scream. Yes, I will say that, but it is not purely original. There are films that came out before Scream that are just like it. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think Urban Legends is like Scream at all. I mean, story-wise, I'm talking about. I mean, in the story, there's really nothing in there that reminds me of Scream. Now, tone-wise, that's another different story. Yes, this has a lot of the same tone as Scream. But the thing is, a lot of teen slasher flicks, like these two movies, all use the same kind of tone. Even I Know What You Did Last Summer used this same kind of tone, which that is another movie that was victimized by Scream's success. But that's a whole nother video altogether. The point I'm trying to make here is that yes, tone-wise, they do kind of look the same. They have that dark visual image. They're kind of creepy, kind of have a murky looking vibe. But that does not mean that they're the same movie, or essentially to say that the movie is a ripoff of another film. One thing that is bad about this movie is that it flops in the third act. But then again, a lot of teen slashers from the late 90s and early 2000s did. But it's something that I really don't buy. I mean, the killer's big reveal, and we find out why the killer is doing this, and that it's revenge against our main heroine and, her best friend. But that's only two people that the killer wants revenge on, but the killer kills a lot more people than just two people. So it's like, I'm going to kill everybody that matters to you along with you. That's not something I really buy. Because, then that means she's getting more than just revenge here. Because her revenge was targeted at two people. What do the other people have anything to do with this? So, in that sense, yes. The movie kind of flops at the end, doesn't really deliver. But aside from that, the movie was still solid enough. In my humble opinion, Urban Legends is one that's worth giving a chance if you're into slasher films. But whether you believe it is a ripoff of Scream or not, that is entirely your humble opinion, but I still think it's a good watch, especially this Halloween season.